Hey everyone, welcome back. I hope your day's been going well. You might be a little confused reading that title. I mean, it's pretty well known that multiplayer is very difficult to add to games. So, how can a game with multiplayer be made in 2 days? Well, let's just say it's possible with the right setup and a bit of time management. So, I've been following this cool little party game console called the GameNite for a while and saw that they were hosting a 2-day game jam, so I had to jump at the opportunity to make a game for the console. What's a game night, I hear you say? A game night is a console for party games. You just boot it up, pick a game, scan the QR code, and play with your friends using your phone as a controller. With this setup, you can play multiplayer games with over 20 players. The console is home to several party games, kind of like those that you see in Super Monkey Ball or Jackbox Party Packs. So yeah, game night, we're hosting a jam, and the theme of the jam is nautical, so like boats, the sea, and stuff. Oh, come on, another boat game? Didn't you just do a video on a boat game? Well, yeah, I like boats, I guess. Anyway, so I normally map out my brain when coming up with game ideas, so this was no different. I open Miro and start writing stuff down. I'm like immediately thinking of pirates. Like pirates, ahoy matey, sailing the sea, sea monsters, finding treasure, all that stuff. After a while, I had a few ideas with potential. One was to make a co-op game where you manage the ship together, surviving storms, fending off sea creatures, and maintaining the ship. One player might man the sails, while another mans the cannons. Another idea was a competitive game where you single-handedly man a ship and battle or race other players' ships. But I eventually settled on the following idea. It's a frantic pirate rush to loot as much treasure as possible before the time is up. The winner being the pirate with the most gold at the end. You play as one of 4 pirates who can sail the sea, dig holes to loot treasure, and steal from other pirates. I was also thinking of having a system kind of like the scoring system you see in the fighting party game from Super Monkey Ball, if you've ever played that. It's basically several rounds of fighting where the wins are tallied up, and the first to so many victories wins the match. So that's pretty much the whole idea of the game. I think we have enough decided that we can start on the game. So here comes the part where I need to set up the game so it works on the game night. The thing is, I don't have a game night console, so how can I test the game? Well, thankfully they provided a controller server with a couple different controller presets. All you gotta do is clone the server from GitHub, run it in a terminal, and now anyone on your local Wi-Fi can pull up a controller on their phone by going to the special URL. And the cool thing is the controllers can be completely dynamic and tailored to whatever scenario and whatever game you're working on. So you're not just limited to a standard ABXY controller. You can send whatever inputs that can be gathered from the browser too, so there's a lot of potential for making unique controllers. But sadly, with just a couple days to work on the game, I knew I wouldn't have time to make a dynamic controller, although I'd like to make one sometime. So I went with the standard controller and built up a quick adapter to parse all GameNite server inputs as Godot inputs. Sweet, now I can just listen for a client join signal from my adapter to spawn player nodes and give them their ID. Then I just made a simple little player script that moves by checking their inputs as one normally does in a Godot game, except this time passing the player ID. And it just works, awesome. Next up is some actual art. Let's make some water and sandy land tiles. Here's a quick time lapse of me making the tiles. Every time I set up an auto tiler in Godot, I get thinking about how I can make a tool to speed up the process. Most of these sprites are just variants of the earlier ones, just flipped or rotated. So I might actually come out with a Godot add-on someday to make this process a little quicker next time. All done, it's looking good. I'm glad I got it working pretty quickly. I didn't want to go too crazy with detail on these since there's a lot of tiles to update, and I'd have to update several tiles to make the art consistent. Admittedly, this probably isn't the most optimal way to make an auto-tileable tile set, so let me know if you know a better way that uses less tiles. Next up, I added a pirate for the player to control. I also need a little walking animation for when he moves around on land. And I later realized he's going to need to carry around a shovel to dig up all the buried treasure, so I added that in. And there you have it, our pirate is done. I'm really happy with how he turned out. So we've got a pirate that moves around on land, but I mean, that's it. The goal of the game is to collect as much gold as possible before time runs out, and the main way to get gold is to dig it up. Here's my attempt at adding that mechanic. I made a quick little dig animation where he hops up and slams the shovel in the ground before throwing the sand away. Next was to check the tile we just dug out and replace it in the tile map with the dug up tile sprite. And finally I just spawned in a random amount of coins where the pirate dug. The coins themselves are very simple actually. It's basically just an area 2D with a sprite. It checks for a player entering its area and increments the player's coin count when it does. I also made them randomly shoot out from the dig site using a tween. The coins don't last forever though. They come with a timer which tells them when to flicker and get deleted eventually. Alright, so we have some of the main mechanics already implemented. Let's do sailing next. We don't really want to be able to walk on water, so I was thinking the player would transform into a boat when hitting the water. I also added cannons so you can snipe other pirates from across the map and then come by to steal their gold. I thought for a while about making the boats separate from the players, but I decided it was a little beyond the scope of the jam and would open us up to other potential bugs and issues like, what if the player and boat get separated? Or who can drive the boat? Or is it free game since they all look the same? Or should the boats block cannonballs? Looking back, I think I chose correctly, but I'm definitely open to reworking the sailing to something more complex if I keep working on this game. So I got the boat kinda working, but let's be real, the boats tend to rotate to face the way they are moving. This also means I need to add new animations for each rotation of the boat. Not exactly a small task. Well, I think it was worth the extra effort, because this looks so much better than what we had before. I think I got a little better at doing art from different perspectives too. So that's pretty cool. So our game is taking shape, but there's no UI yet. Players need to know who's winning, how many rounds until victory, and how much time is left. So I added little in-game displays that show the player, their coins, and how many wins they have. I think it turned out alright. Next to those is the round timer. Once it strikes 0, it says time's up, and we go on to the next round. Finally, I added a simple title screen where players can queue up before starting a new match. It'd be kinda weird to have all players look the same, so I spent some time making them art for 4 pirate variants for the players 1 through 4. Awesome, all done. Now for some sound effects. Up to this point, I've always just generated or used pre-made sound effects. I wanted to try something new with how I do audio, so I just went up to my family, started recording, and said, give me your best pirate noises. And I got a lot of really good impressions and quotes from it. I had to cut out a lot of laughing, but after a bit of time editing the audio and throwing them in the game, we had this chaotic masterpiece.
Start digging, you skeleton!
Okay, that might be a bit much, so we'll have to tweak that a bit. Alright, now the pirate noises happen 70% less often. We'll have to see if that makes it any better. I didn't have much time to add music, so I just threw a quick tune together in Soundtrap. It's the same tune twice, but the second loop is transposed to a different key. I'm not gonna lie, it's not my best work, but I think it works fine for this jam, given the time limit. I had an hour or two to finish up the last bits of the game, so I spent that time doing some quick polishing and playtesting. Here's some footage I got of my family and I playing the final product. It was a lot of fun for such simple gameplay, and having our own voices yelled out by the pirates added so much to the experience.
Land of lover. Land ho. Fire. Land ho. I spilled me the balloons. Burn ho. Treasure my booty. Land ho. I spilled me the balloons. Land ho. Land ho. Ye land ho. Land ho. Start digging, you scallywag, you scallywag. Start digging, you scallywag. I spilled me doubloons. Fire! Varn hole! Varn hole! Fire!
Well, time's up and the game's now in the judge's hands. Now we wait. Hey, the results are in. And I tied for 3rd place. Nice. Well, there you have it. That's how I made Pirate Panic for the GameNite console in just 2 days. I definitely want to revisit this game to give it a few more features and polish. And looking back, the most challenging part was balancing the multiplayer mechanics and making sure everything works seamlessly, but it was also the most rewarding. There's so much potential to expand on the game, like adding new maps and new pirate characters, and dynamic events like sea monster attacks or hidden treasures. If you enjoyed, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'd love to hear your thoughts and suggestions in the comments. Thanks for watching. Until next time.
Fire! Fire! Varn hole! Fire! Varn hole! Yoy, the treasure my booty. Varn